Welcome, Gianluigi. Welcome, Enrico. How are you guys?
Hello. Thank you. Fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you for having me
All
today.
good.
Very
Super good
good.
to have this chat.
Great.
Can't
Yeah.
wait.
Welcome back. Today we talk about NRF and about artificial intelligence. Gianluigi, you have been to the new NRF recently, and we would like to know everything about the novelties presented at NRF. What are the key takeaways? What have you seen at NRF that caught your attention?
Yes, sure. So, to be honest, if you like the scratch the surface, the answer could be agentic AI, but will be only the surface because everyone, of course, for marketing purpose, are pushing a lot for AI agent in every sausages, to be honest. But I think behind the scenes there is more than this because of course technology now seems to be AI especially seems to be really at the heart of the empowering of retail. But I also heard a lot about evolution of things that now seems old, but is not never old because never been really at scale like omnichannel. So I see a lot of things related to tools like OMS, distributing OMS, payment system, and things like that that allow retailer to do the best to create a seamless experience for the customer. I'm used to say seamless instead of omnichannel because seamless, in my opinion, create more the sense of what omnichannel should be. So something that is really frictionless for the customer. So you don't need to think about I'm in e-commerce when I go to the physical store, when I go to mobile, when I go wherever it is, but you do whatever you like to do in an independent way by the channel. So this is another topic.
Yeah,
But definitely
customer centricity, in other
customer
words, yes.
centricity, yes, and the topic is start from the experience of the customer and also of employee of a point of sales, to be honest, because if it's super difficult for
That's a
employee to
very
perceive
good point
the
as
things,
well.
would be also very difficult to arrive. And then it's come the technology behind because sometimes you are starting from technology and not starting from the customer, employee, and whatever you like to achieve in terms of final result. So I see also a lot on these spaces, so a lot of existing players that are improving what they are doing, plus new player that are growing and coming in the space of these things. A lot of startups, of course, so someone very interesting, someone less interesting, but there are some trends I see. Like for example, another one I see is the let's say introduction of AI in physical things. So or better interaction, more deep interaction between physical spaces like retail spaces and AI technology. So from small robotics that could interact with the customer, but maybe is not proper per any kind of business, for especially for fashion, for example, is not super relevant, but maybe in other retail spaces is interesting. Usage of the data to enhance more the physical experience and so on and so forth. So AI, a lot of AI for sure, but also I see a growing, my opinion, a growing understanding that the fact that AI is not so plug and play because the narrative is okay, you buy some AI and you do. Instead, also some big vendor. I attend a meeting, private meeting, or somehow private meeting of AWS, of Adobe, of other big vendor. They are all of them are very stressing the point about literacy, about better knowledge of AI in terms of what you have to do, about the reinvention of the organization. That is usually a very big topic. So I see behind the big announcement, whatever you like to do with AI, more consciousness that you need also to work on organization, you need to work on your data, you need to work a lot of culture and understanding of the things because you cannot use this instrument, let's say, from scratch. So it's something that need an adoption, need an understanding, and so on.
Of course, the central role of data We talked about it, structured and unstructured data,
Yep.
which is essential to AI to work. We know of the famous rule, garbage in, garbage out. So the
Yep.
quality of data is essential to produce high quality output. And also process mapping, it's another essential component
Yep.
of any AI application. But yes, I like the focus on retail. We know that still nowadays 80% of transactions are still done in the physical stores, in bricks and mortar stores. And so, of course, improving the processes in retail stores, improving efficiency and customer experience in the stores is essential. Enrico, what's your opinion coming from a retail company as well?
Yes, well, I was actually listening at Gianluigi feedback. It's super interesting. And if I may just get some bottom lines, it's super interesting to understand how AI is not just a plug and play, like a solution that you put into place, but it's changing completely the structure of the mindsets as well. So it requires a lot of education of the people involved, because otherwise it's not never gonna work. Secondly, I found super interesting still the confirmation about the agentic AI, which is coming into place. My perception is that we are still a little bit far away from actually adopting the real agentic AI potential because, as you said, it's not just the quality of the data, but also the availability. But what is super interesting is that we are forced now to think about the solution we want to put in place rather than the technology we have to implement. So, and that is in my opinion, is the big change into the paradigm, because we have to think ourselves as the users in order to provide the holistic experience. As also Gianluigi was saying, let's stop talking about omnichannel. It's just frictionless. Is you are the user, you want to do something, whatever comes to your mind is possible, and the rest of the technology is operating underneath to make it work. So, as always in the history, technology is good whenever it's invisible. But nowadays, the potential is super high. And my opinion is that the major challenge is to help us to understand the technology in order to be able to really, let's say, forecast the future, what is possible, and then put it in place.
That's a very
And that
good
is
point.
super difficult for me. And so I find many times solutions which are totally unexpected. So applying AI to, let's say, payment solutions can give rise to something which is totally, let's say, out of our considerations, like, loyalty programs, because you have all the data there. Tokenization and blockchain can also provide like a safe connections, but then you might know a lot of information about that client, and then also implement his experience throughout these kind of information if managed properly. It's an amazing future in front of us, I think.
Yeah, this is actually a very good point. So we had AI among us now for several years because the part you just mentioned about AI in payment solutions, it's something that we've seen in the most advanced payment providers which utilize algorithms in order to score the reliability of transaction and approve or disapprove transactions. And this impacts directly the conversion rate of e-commerce and the success rate of the transaction. And this is made with machine learning, which is an area of artificial intelligence. But it's also interesting what you said before that in order to implement AI solutions, we need to have a vision. So we need to know what we want to achieve. And in order to know what we want to achieve, we need to also understand the capabilities of AI. So it's like, a bit of a dilemma. So we can't do one without the other. Gianluigi, would you like to comment on that, expand a little bit
Yeah,
more?
sure. Yeah, so just a point before to complete the point of Enrico about the invisible technology was so something that I was highlighted also in a specific panel by LVMH Group, so the group holding of Louis Vuitton, where they are the major play people in the company related to digital evolution, transformation, so on and so forth, and they like exactly that's the fact, for example, in fashion, in luxury special, but in fashion in general, technology should be invisible at the end of the day. It's not the focus. Is something that's allowed to do things, but it's not the focus. Coming back to your question, I think end of the day is a dilemma, but is a dilemma that could be somehow solvable with knowledge. Because I think there are two kind of knowledge needed to really unlock the power of AI in technology in general, to be honest. But AI is just faster, so this is the topic there. That are the knowledge of your domain, first of all, because if you don't know about yourself, your domain, what is your real business, what are the pain point really, what is working well and not is not working well, because then you don't need to disrupt anything by definition. So maybe there are things that are going properly and things that could be improved. So first of all, you need to be, let's say, an expert or a competent person about your field, your industry, and your specific field of activities in your industry. And so hopefully this is already there for who is working for the company. So not need to think about, okay, I don't know AI, so I'm condemned to be forgotten. So probably I have a chance there. But on the other side, you need to know also the potential and the limitation of AI. So you need to know both sides. So if you are competent, that's not need to be a technician. You have a right understanding of the potential, the risk also, because it is not everything shining. There are something positive and something that could be risky and negative. So having a real knowledge, a literacy, and second step, a fluency. So literacy means a real understanding. Fluency means that you are able to use fluently. These these make you able to do things better and in a smarter way than before. And a great potential of AI, of course, is to make shorter the distance between who develop things and who think things. Because maybe a very good merchandiser, a very good planner, a very good retail manager, and so on and so forth, could realize more things independently or better with the support of some expert than before, when there was a longer chain between I know the field, I explain to someone else, that explain to someone else again, and so on and so forth. So I think with the education, comprehension, and knowledge, this dilemma you mentioned will be not a dilemma, will be a great potential. If you don't
Yes.
know one of the two, so you are super technical but you don't know the field, or you are super good in your field but you don't understand anything from the eye side, there is a dilemma.
Yeah. Let me say this. I mean, our audience, our customers, public, are quite often fashion entrepreneurs. And I think by now, me too, I came to realize that if you are a designer, you are a fashion entrepreneur, you don't necessarily know a lot about technology. Because it's not your job to know technology. Your job is creativity, is product,
Yeah.
is collection, it's also business. But unfortunately, sometimes technology is a bit overlooked. Right. Okay. So just to go back to what we do at Digital Fashion Academy, we
Oh,
do,
Enrico,
yeah,
may I just add something on this topic because this is something
absolutely.
very dear to me. So many times in different discussions, we go through the big discussion about the students today. Because we used to, at least me, I used to study a lot of things by heart, remember things, and so on and so forth. And now with the use of mobile phones, but even ChatGPT and so on and so forth, it looks like that kind of capability is not that much in trend anymore. But many times, older generations tend to blame the younger generation about this change because, well, if you don't know anything by heart, you don't know things and because you can obviously Google them, what is your capability? And we are tapping right into that, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, it's very clear that nowadays the world is more challenging than in the past. not because of the kind of information you have to know by heart, but the kind of understanding you are required to have, especially as a CEO. You have to have a clear understanding, especially about technology. As Gianluigi was saying, I totally agree with him. It's not about being a technician, but having a deep understanding, because the vision depends a lot on that. Because otherwise, we find these kind of situations that we might also have been encountering in our work as Digital Fashion Academy, or people who is expecting something which is impossible or very complicated by done by AI or technology in general, and then they're not thinking of what is probably a low-hanging fruit. So it's very frustrating. And let me say, just like to close this concept, I really love when I hear people which is very much hands-on, like Gianluigi, saying that it's not about disrupting anymore, it's about an evolution, maybe very quick evolution. But once you start understanding, so your business and the technology potential offered, then you start evolving very quickly and not disrupting. Disrupting, in my opinion, was like a consequence of a frustration between two generations, the one born into the digitalization and the other one old one, right? So the old one couldn't understand the new one couldn't really fit what they had in mind with the old one. Now it's not about disrupting, it's about a very quick evolution which we have right in front of us. And that is, I think, a very good take, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, and also I would say that CEOs and entrepreneurs in fashion industry don't need to worry about evolution or innovation, because there are specialized players who are taking care of that, who are doing it for them. So their responsibility is to try and stay up to date with knowledge and try and inform themselves. About that, I just wanted to mention that we have a short course available on our website, which is an introduction to AI for fashion. It's 1.5 hours, so an hour and a half course. Is very accessible, and allow me to recommend this course to give also something useful to our watchers and listeners if they want to take advantage of this. I wanted to get back to you, Gianluigi, because yes, we mentioned retail, but we know that nowadays retail, let's say, it needs also the support of e-commerce and digital marketing. So, were there any announcements or applications, tools, anything relevant that you saw at NRF regarding the world of e-commerce and digital marketing?
Mhm. So yes, not only especially for NRF, but in general in the recent days, I heard something, yes, interesting about for sure. I think now on e-commerce side, there is the possibility to start really doing the kind of personalization we aim to do for years and years. We are speaking about personalization for years since now, but the problem was technical capabilities. But on the other side was also another topic that I think is relevant. That is the underestimate when you do personalization. To think about my experience, but not the recent experience, also older experience in years and years ago. Anytime you come to, okay, let's do a lot of persona segmentation, customer journey, 100 variants. We arrive to the point, okay, which kind of content can we show to these different customers? We have just one for everyone. So you say, okay, very good, but at the end of the day, there is only one content. So this could be a great opportunity, for example, through generative AI to really unlock the data on one side, but also the production of the content on one side, other side. And what is important to me to highlight, in my opinion, is that this is not changing the vision you provide of a brand, because the brand vision for, let's say, not personalized content is the one that the creative director and the company itself provide to the customer. This kind of variants are coming out for people that really have some interaction with the company, or we have data for them, or we have signals that allow to unlock this kind of personalization. So it's not something that is they say this topic than the brand image, because sometimes there is this fear to say, okay, but the brand image is this, so if we start unlocking these things, the other things could be this topic. Of course need there is the need of, again, an understanding, because if you say, okay, let's do whatever you like with the technology, you go to something that is this topic. But I think this, I think, is another big opportunity. And of course, AI could help also on another topic that's, in my opinion, is another topic really, really underestimated. I was also speaking about this in the AWS meeting conference that we have the day before the starting on NRF, also with some technical player that's working in this field, so they are competent. There is the topic of identity of a customer. So when you are a customer, of course, you go to the retail store. If you go to your usual retail store, probably you are recognized. Probably, large part of the time you are recognized. But if you go online, you are not recognized at all. And vice versa from online to offline. But if you're speaking about luxury special, but in general, let me say also fashion, you supposed to be you are likely to supposed to be recognized. And so of course on one end you need to build some customer journey and some technicalities to make possible to recognize the customer, because it's not magic. But the analysis of his data and the leverage of his data through AI could be start to be very relevant. And so, give you a simple example without going in tech too complex things. For example, in my opinion, now there is a very few usage of the data of the browsing of the website of the customer to enhance opportunities in the physical retail. Because usually, if you are a very good e-commerce in luxury and fashion, if you are over the top 10 in the world, you have a 1% conversion rate, but you need to be very good. So it is possible that 99% of the people that are browsing your website are just spending some time because they cannot do anything more interesting, or there is an intent to buy somewhere. Maybe not 99%, but I think this kind of things through AI could be more accessible to reach. Again, I like to also underline that it's not magic. You need to put some moment in the journey where the customer should somehow show that is this customer, because otherwise it's not magic. But
Yes.
the technology could help a lot.
Again, you need to know what you want to measure.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't know what you want to measure, it's difficult to get relevant data.
Yeah. But that you need also to think a little bit out of the box and to try to experiment a little bit, because to give another perspective from the creative side that you was mentioning at the beginning, I think there is a lot of work to try to let's say teach to the AI to provide the exact output with the exact guideline of a brand, and this of course if you go to the final customer makes sense. But in a phase of brainstorming for the creative people, I think that the more divergent is the output, the better it is if you are using the AI to brainstorm. Because if AI brainstorming with AI provide a slightly different variant of what you already do as a creative person, honestly speaking, you are much, much, much better than the AI to create. Instead, if AI start giving you output very out of the box, maybe are totally not in the context, but it's a matter of making you thinking, but what if we do something different? This is another example that maybe would be interesting for people not technical, no, because maybe they don't need to stay hour and hour to find out how to have a output exactly like the output they already do themselves, because they are better than AI to do creative things. The AI could create a lot of strange things that maybe one of a hundred of these are also interesting to take inspiration, my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what I'm getting the feeling from what you're saying, that we are seeing a change in the technological landscape of e-commerce and digital marketing. So we know that, and you also are a fan of Scott Brinker, and we followed the evolution and the exponential expansion of number of applications for marketing and e-commerce technology. They went from 150 a decade or more ago to 4,000, 5,000 nowadays. And I mean,
15,000 now, more or less.
yes, it's just a guess, but I have a feeling that AI is kind of revolutionizing this situation. So we don't talk anymore about the thousands of application, but we talk about agentic AI assistants who can run the specific services in our place.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
are these like applications going to be, let's say, superseded or like substituted by AI agents?
Yeah, so I think that what is relevant is this kind of tool could simplify the UX and the interaction with this kind of tool, while this kind of tool became more and more complex. So a big problem that I face along all my career when we introduce technology is the fact that technology have a super huge potential, but then a large part of the time is used for 20%, 25%, even worse in terms of the capability. Why? Because people need to learn to use it. And the other topic is the more you like to do super custom things, super powerful things, the more complex it is to use. To look at the content management system. If you like to insert content without any kind of, so far at least, you need to insert content in a website in a very simple way. You have a structured template and you cannot escape from this. The more you like to customize, the more you need to be able to manage the things. Probably the AI now in the MarTech stack, but I think in every kind of stack, is helping people to interact with complex things with a more natural interaction. And so this could be something that's a lock on top of a growing complexity because are more complex than even the technology. The interface could be more natural. And so maybe also people that so far have struggled to use the technology because they need to learn how to use the interface, maybe they can interact in a more natural way on this. So the complexity of the interaction should be less. Instead, the technology below will be even more complex. So agentic AI could be also a big topic also in people using software, not agentic agent interacting directly with the final customer. So it's behind.
Actually, I think that this is going to be applied in different landscapes and areas in the businesses. So, stepping back, I was listening already 1 year ago, Satya Nadella um, interview, and I was a little bit impressed because he was speaking very poorly about Excel, which is from Microsoft, right? And he was treating that software that we all know and we all use as like, a sort of poor database with a layer of super stupid rules on top. And he was heading to a different direction, saying, well, actually, we would need to have a very well structured database and then agentic AI working on them. This stupid layer of rules, as he was calling the formulas in Excel, it's like a very primordial solution to do what we need to do. Actually, we know perfectly. Many times we build a complex Excel sheet because we come from a certain data, and then we have to try and get from those information a different information, which is giving rise to different information to get finally our result. So the agentic AI approach is exactly the opposite. I ask exactly what I need, and this is the data I have. If the data are enough to get what I need, I get it without, building up all the flows of information. And that is impacting everything, actually.
Yeah.
So even the structure within the company, from the software viewpoint, might be impacted because if you think about ERP, they are sort of, let's say, evolved Excel in a way, but not as flexible and not as quick and effective as an ideal agentic AIs can do over an existing database. And moreover, the database, in my old mindset, I was conceiving like a central database. But once you have agentic AI, you don't need to have everything there. You don't need to move all the data into a central warehouse of data. You can just go and pick the data from the source, combining with another source, and then giving out a result to whoever is asking for that. It could be even real time in a way.
Yeah.
So it's really a big change, isn't it?
I mean, I perfectly agree with you. However, there are two very important topics like to say to present. One is, for example, what is a database? Okay, so you and I both know what a database, but allow me to say that I've studied what is a relational database rather than like a flat table. So Ed, when we talk to entrepreneurs or designers about databases, I don't think like we can expect like to have the exact knowledge of what a database is apart from a container of data. But in that regard, let me just give you a simple example. And I go back to what Gianluigi you were saying before and you, Enrico. The content management, writing data into a database that is displayed on a website, okay? Or Excel, a rule, a formula that generates a result. Now, the example I wanted to make is about Shopify. If you use the virtual assistant, the AI assistant of Shopify, you can ask using natural language, you can ask the virtual assistant to create a landing page for you with some content, like an advertising content, and a selection of products. So we're basically fetching content from two separate tables in a database, the content database and the product database. And with the AI, we can simply ask the agent to create a landing page mixing these both tables, this both content, to create something that is like a business relevant, a landing page where users can find the latest advertising campaign and the latest products available already into your shop that they can buy. So this is how AI is evolving. So making it easy for everybody, for entrepreneurs, for content managers to create web pages that generate sales.
No, this is the reason why I also stress the point that probably the distance between who have the idea, the knowledge, the intent to go, where we like to go as a business, are now closer to the people that are able to make it happen. But on the same time, you need to have people that create things that need to have be a little bit of understanding of what they are doing, not just doing technical things. And on the other side, entrepreneurs, chief executive officer, creative director, so have a good enough comprehension of where the world is going, and maybe have the open mind to start thinking slightly different. So we need to start thinking, okay, but let's forget for a moment how we have done so far. Let's look to our objectives and try to shape a little bit different. Because if you add on obsolete process a chatbot on top or an agent on top, I don't think you go so fast for so far, honestly speaking, because you are just plugging something that do the same things that are not properly working or not still working now, maybe working in the past but not still working now, just with a more modern technology, but it's not a change. It's exactly what's so I stress the point because I think to come back to your point and also to the Digital Fashion Academy, so people need to have a good enough knowledge of the trends of the industry, on their kind of job, and on the AI as opportunities. And on the other hand, if you are starting from a more technical background, you need to go closer to who is the, let's say, subject matter expert in terms of process or the business itself. Because so far is really this, and the new things I think there that is a big revolution that no one is highlighting, so in my opinion, is that for the first time in the history, the user not need necessarily to adapt to the software, but is the software that goes in the direction of what the user is liking. Because every one of us has done some training and need to be adapted somehow to the interface of a software that on one end guide you, because I don't think that you can do everything by scratch. So there is from scratch, you need to have some guidance. But on the other hand, you need to do the things with the restriction that software impose you, especially in ERP, but not only. Honestly. So now there is the idea of switching the paradigm. Now, so you want to do something, and the
Yeah.
technology allow you to do that. Of course, with again a bit of knowledge, because if you like to do Excel file with any kind of logic, I think again there's not magic. Sooner or later, some problem rise. So you.
That's exactly the point. So flexibility is good, again, if you know what you want to achieve. And we know also that AI is supposed to bring efficiency. In a time when the costs of doing anything in the fashion industry are skyrocketing, from sourcing products to advertising, AI is supposed also to help us reduce the cost and gain efficiency. And in order to do that, we need to look at the whole value chain of fashion, from sourcing the products to logistics to sales and distribution to marketing. And I wanted also to go back to our next project, which is like the Executive Master in AI for Fashion. As in this course, starting in April, we will cover all the activities of the value chain of fashion, talking about them from an AI and digital transformation perspective. So, Enrico, you are an advocate of AI for fashion, and you also championed the launch of the course. So why do you think it's important for fashion entrepreneurs and professionals to attend our course?
Well, that's exactly matching what we have been saying so far. So a knowledge, let's say broad but very clear on the potential and dynamics about AI implementation is at the base of running a company or evolving a structure, in my opinion. And then also, I think that that is impacting two very important things. So we've been saying that actually execution is becoming more and more easy because of technology capability of covering, bigger gaps. But on the other hand, obviously, this is then pointing the spotlight on the visions that you need to have. But vision cannot be unrelated to obviously technology, both for feasibility, but on the other hand, also because the consumer's expectations is changing all the time. So the impact of technology is not just about the potential of your company, of your department, whatever you're running, but it's also impacting a lot on the expectations of consumers. So as we've been saying so far, it's super important to know who you are, where you want to head. But that is usually giving rise to values that you are pursuing as company or as a brand. But those values have a specific execution or application according to the expectations of the consumer. So let's say you are a brand for cars and your value is about providing the best driving experience as a driver yourself. In that case, the driving experience relates a lot about technology implementation and consumer expectations about safety, performance, and so on and so forth. So knowing what is out there, the major trends, and how this can impact all the single chain of the value chain in fashion, it's important for running a company, but also for understanding the market. That's, let's say, what I think is going to be the major take from this executive course.
I agree. Again, customer centricity and just try and meet or exceed customer expectations. I think that's like a very good approach and a mental like state of mind and a focus for fashion companies. And of course, we know that the designers and creative directors have already their vision, but mixing the vision of the creative director with the needs and expectation of customers can only produce good results.
Enrico, if I may just add another comment, which is not
Yes.
central in the course, but we will tap into that topic as well. Let's talk about something which seems quite, let's say, far away from technology, AI, and digitalization, which is about sustainability, which is obviously an overused term. But in my
Absolutely.
perception, sustainability so far has been a burden because the companies and the markets and everything else, regulations as well, are not obviously being conceived in that direction. But in the, let's say, ultimate conclusion or execution, sustainability is about the maximum efficiency. Waste is like a waste of something which is not being used. It's put apart because it's not useful to anyone else. So in a way, it's not efficient. Whether it's about energy, whether it's about materials, and so on and so forth. The technology can also help to see this road ahead, where you can understand exactly where this waste is coming from and how to reduce or avoid it, and how you can implement a solution where whatever you do is maximized, whether it's sold again, is put into a different market, is used for a different purpose, and so on and so forth. So in the overall vision, technology providing you access to all the information at the very different stages of your value chain is also allowing you to do, let's say, aspire to have like the perfect company in terms of efficiency. So that's also an interesting impact of technology. And once you implement that and you look back, you say, oh, wow, for so many years, I've been wasting so much potential.
Yes,
That
I
is
agree.
where we should aim, I think.
It's a very good point. The point of view of sustainability is strictly tied together with efficiency and with cost saving and sustainability for the environment and the whole world. So that's a really good point, and we do touch on that also because it's a legal requirement in the European Union, and it's like spreading kind of far beyond European Union. I wanted to ask Gianluigi the final recommendations. If you had to give some recommendations or suggestions to fashion entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
small, medium scale ups,
Mhm.
or companies already established, do you feel like giving some advice how to approach AI in this period?
Yeah, I think take you need to be on one side bold but not full. So let's say you need to be uh, curious and also take time to understand because there is a lot of noise. So first you see you could be also afraid by the fear of be missing out. So you're not doing, so you are behind. What is important to really take some time to understand because it's not a good idea to be super enthusiastic. Whatever is happening is super nice because there are things to know. On the other hand, you don't need to be scared and so not refuse the things just for refusing. So you need to take time to understand, also to learn a little bit, not learning again to become a AI engineer is not this the topic, but to take time to understand. Also because a small point I like to add about efficiency, you need to really think about the value because and the value there is a lot of value there because otherwise we are not speaking all this time about these things. But AI is not for free from organizational standpoint for sure, but also from cost standpoint because now we are all thinking about ChatGPT free version. You chat is free, but when you move to corporate environment, there are some costs related to. So what is important is again, as well as whatever you do, you need to have an understanding to know, okay, am I wasting money or I'm investing money?
Good point.
So I think the knowledge is an important because no one is speaking about the cost. So it seems to be that it's for free. It's just a matter to unlock. Now, it's not for free because I have been a buyer of technology for 25 years and now all the vendors are priced this kind of things by consumption. And then you have your colleague CFO, your chief executive officer, all the board. They say, okay, what is your forecast for the next 3 years? I have some difficulty to give you my forecast for the next week, but saying that, we can try to guess. So this is not saying that we need to not doing this. Is another reason why to study a little bit and to be prepared. Because the more you are prepared, the more you can unlock the value. The more you just jump in or refuse in, and the more you lose money or competitive level of competitivity with your competition.
Thank you, Gianluigi. I think it's a very valuable point. And in this regard, I would say if anybody has any questions related to the topic we discussed today, please send us an email at info@digitalfashionacademy.com. You can also check our website, digitalfashionacademy.com, to find out more about the online courses we have live and on demand, and about artificial intelligence, and finally also our executive master that will be online starting in April 2026. So thanks again for being with us today, Gianluigi and Enrico. Thanks you all for watching. If you have any comments, you can write any comments in below the video or send us an email at info@digitalfashionacademy.com. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Bye.